Hello there, welcome back to my views and news. Views, two very important news stories. Firstly, Ethiopian military is suffering material losses on some fronts in West Gurjam. No one is talking about the material losses being suffered by Ethiopian military. Is Fano suffering any material losses too? Secondly, different reporting about what happened in Fano by international media. People criticize me a lot. They say, Sajid, your reporting about Don't Strike in Fano is not correct. Civilians were killed there. You are saying Fano fighters were targeted. What you are reporting, numbers incorrect. I want to share with you what CNN, BBC and Guardian reported about the strike in Fano. Different reporting by the three news outlets. Thirdly, viewers, Gedu Andargachew, Amhara leader, Prosperity Party leader, Member of Parliament, spoke fearlessly at a session of House of Representatives a few hours ago. He accused the government that government did not learn anything from past mistakes. Government was forcing Amhara people to resort to the resistance movement. What happened after that? His house has been surrounded reportedly. We have details for you about who is surrounding his house. Firstly, viewers, while we compare gains and losses, retreat and advance of Fano fighters and Ethiopian military, we're not reporting much about, no one is reporting about material losses being suffered by Fano fighters and Ethiopian military. We're only talking about territorial gains and losses, like Fano has captured town, cities, like military has retaken town. What about logistical losses suffered by the two sides? It's difficult to give you an exact estimate, but it seems that on some fronts in Gojam, military is suffering material losses. Ethiopian military, several videos, pictures are now being shared showing burning vehicles of Ethiopian military. The videos and pictures are from West Gojam fronts like Fano and Bore. Bore, I reported a few hours ago that there was intense fighting on Bore front. In Fano too, Fano fighters are putting up very stiff resistance on these fronts. They are carrying out attacks. Military convoys are being ambushed by Fano fighters around Bore, around Fano. These videos, pictures show several military vehicles of Ethiopian military set on fire by Fano fighters. Now, Fano is not suffering any material losses. Fano fighters don't have any tanks, artillery pieces, not hundreds of vehicles. Fano is basically an infantry, very swift, mobile infantry with a few vehicles and small arms. Yes, Fano has captured weapons. The Fano commanders say they are in possession of now all heavy weapons. They don't have any air power, no drones, no planes, but they have other heavy weapons. But obviously confirmation is needed. Mainly Fano fighters, Fano factions are infantry units operating in small units armed with AK-47. So they are not suffering any military losses. They are only suffering human loss. Their fighters are being killed. That is the main loss suffered by Fano fighters. But Ethiopian military is suffering losses on several fronts. Military losing its soldiers, military soldiers being taken prisoner by Fano fighters, and military supplies being targeted to by Fano fighters. We have seen several videos in the past 1 month or so showing Ethiopian military convoys set on fire by Fano fighters. Military convoys were ambushed by Fano fighters. ZU-23s were seen set on fire, some other vehicles too, trucks as well. So while we're reporting territorial gains losses, we should also report about material losses suffered by Fano fighters in Ethiopian military. On Bore, Gojam, West Gojam, Bore, from the Silam fronts, military is suffering material losses reportedly. Fano fighters are intensifying their ambush attacks on military reportedly. Secondly, towards different reporting by international media about what happened in Fano Silam. That just show that it is very difficult to get information from the ground when there is a war-like situation like it is in the Amhara region. CNN reported today that in Fano Silam, a loud explosion led to casualties. 26 were killed. Loud explosion caused by drone strikes or some other or artillery strike, no details. CNN says loud explosion. Number of casualties 26. BBC reported today. BBC says 70 casualties. Result of airstrike. Protesters in Fano Silam, they were targeted. Protesters who were protesting against Ethiopian National Defence Force. Guardian reports 26 casualties in Fano Silam, and drone strike was conducted. Drone strike targeted Fano fighters. Mainly Fano fighters were killed. Some bystanders were killed too. Civilians, mostly Fano fighters killed. According to local sources, all three international media outlets are quoting local sources. No one is confirming 300 casualties. That is what I said, that drone strikes don't cause hundreds of casualties. If there is one drone strike on a place, people are scattered mostly. So we don't see mostly hundreds of people killed in drone strikes. So three news outlets reporting differently. Why? Because there is no access to the place where it happened. What I report, I try to get information from the ground, and that is how I try to confirm things. Target was Fano fighters. They were targeted. Yes, civilian casualties could be there. We cannot say 300 were killed. Exact number of casualties difficult to say, but exact number would be in dozens, not in hundreds. Problem is that whenever there are drone strikes, air strikes, whether in Oromia, in Tigray or in Amhara, these drone strikes are used by the groups who are the targets to mobilize the international community. Now, Amhara media outlets are accusing the federal government. The federal government is involved in committing massacre of civilians through air strikes, drone strikes. Why we see so much propaganda? Because these armed groups have no defense against drones. Tigray fighters had no defense, Ola no defense, Fano fighters no defense. Drone strikes really hurt them. That is why then they start counter narratives that civilians are dying, but drone strikes are not against civilians. Yes, some could have been done by mistake. Otherwise, main target is Fano. But obviously, reports are bound to be different by different news sources, because news sources are relying on local media. Local media is extremely polarized. It does not report neutrally. That is why we see international media reporting differently about the situation in the Amhara region. Lastly was Gedu Andargachew, who spoke at the parliament today when state of emergency proclamation was put to vote. And he criticized the federal government, PM Abiy's government. Fearlessly, he lashed out at Ethiopian PM Abiy's government, saying that a transitional government should be established in the Amhara region. Speaker kept on interrupting him, but he kept on speaking. Who leaked Andargachew's speech? Because state media did not broadcast the session of House of Representatives. Ethiopian reporter is a news outlet. It leaked video of Andargachew's speech from the parliament. How did Ethiopian reporter get access to the parliament? It means that Ethiopian government is unable to ensure secrecy, confidentiality. It imposed a ban on live broadcast, but still the video from the parliament was leaked. Some say that Andargachew is being propped up, he is being projected as a leader of the resistance movement. It is a way of hijacking Fano's revolution. Some Amhara activists are raising questions about Gedu's fiery speech, and some are saying Gedu is hero. Others say no, something is wrong. He is being propped up. He is being projected as a leader of this Amhara resistance movement. He is not a leader. He remained silent. Now he wants to cash in on the gains of Fano fighters. Difficult to say, but I remember that when PM Abiy turned against Gedu Andargachew and Johannes Buyalio, back then the main issue was that the two leaders, two politicians spoke in support of Fano. I did some videos last year. Since last year, they have been last year they supported Fano fighters and then they were sidelined. Since last year, they have been removed from key decision-making process in the Amhara region on federal level. So they paid the price for supporting Fano fighters. We cannot say their love for Fano is just a new love which emerged a few days ago. No. Last year they spoke, they suffered consequences, they were sidelined, they were removed from positions. Now they're speaking openly. Now, reportedly, Andargachew's house has been surrounded by security forces. It was very expected. I said that in the last video that Andargachew will have to face the consequences because he spoke a lot at the parliament today. His speech was a charge sheet against PM Abiy's government. So this type of reaction from the government was very likely. His house is in Addis Ababa. Federal police has surrounded his house. Is Gedu inside or not? It's not clear. But security forces want to arrest him. He could be arrested like Christian Tadale has been arrested, like Kasa Teshagar of Addis Ababa City Council has been arrested. Obviously, he will be arrested under the state of emergency proclamation. No one is being allowed by the government to speak so freely in Ethiopia. By the way, when members of parliament speak at the floor of the house, they are protected. They cannot be prosecuted for their speeches at the floor of the parliament. That is what I think the case is. So, can Andargachew be arrested for what he said at the parliament meeting? That we'll see. Some other cases could be made up against him. It's not difficult for government to make up any new case against a politician. It seems that Gedu is going to be in trouble. He knew the consequences, I think. He's a seasoned politician. He worked as a Amhara regional president, worked as foreign minister. He knows what is happening in the region. But I think he has realized that the resistance movement in Amhara is getting stronger. PM Abiy's government will become weak. So he wants to be on Amhara resistance movement side. Sooner or later, he believes, I think, that this resistance movement will force PM Abiy to make compromises. That is why he wants to leave the movement, you can say. His house surrounded. Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching.